right, thanks for staying with us. Now, Bento, as Goodness had earlier recounted, took everything from me, my sense of humanity, sanity, confidence, and trust. That's Pascal, an ex-sales executive at Nigerian payroll startup PlusTvAfrica. He said about about his time working there rather. Now, we worked around the clock, that's what he said. Ebun, that's the CEO and the founder of the company, would send you messages at by 2 a.m. and expect a response ASAP. No rest. We went to bed every night praying our jobs will still be there. When we woke up the next morning, praying our jobs will still be there when we woke up the next morning. Now, new research has found that being overworked is not the reason people leave their jobs. A Danish study of about 4,500 public service workers has provided credence to the adage that people don't leave jobs, they leave managers. Now, according to the psychologist Matthias, one of the researchers behind the study, we may have a tendency to associate depression and stress with work pressure and workload. However, our study shows that the workload actually has no effect on the workplace depression. A lot of people suffer in silence working in extremely toxic work environment and dealing with horrible bosses, too scared to leave and terrified to speak up. So how can we handle, when you have horrible bosses and you are working in a toxic work environment? How do you handle this situation? Now, this is a conversation, and please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation, send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at WaysShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WaysShow. All right, so let me give it to our HR professional. Let me give you the floor to open the show for us. This conversation yesterday when I was on that tweet space, it was, even at some point I just ran away because I was really feeling for the founders, that's the employers, and I was at the same time pained for the employee. So I don't even know how do we even start this conversation. Goodness, maybe you'll help me here.
Again, I got a wind of this information before it came out. Not the details, just that something was dropping, because the chief editor of Tech Kamal is a friend, and so when she had hinted that something was dropping and the ecosystem is going to shake, I was just like, it can't be more than horrible bosses and some mean workplace. Because for the longest time, I've been an advocate for great places to work, innovative cultures that consider people and just treat people like human beings, right? Because I've been, since my time at Microsoft and then now consulting for startups, you just see that there are lots of people who don't understand that the burden of running a company is more than building a product, right? It's also about managing people, because people are the essence of your work and your business. But the stories of yesterday were just too much. Like, you hear some things and you're like, is this even possible? You read some emails and you're like, is this the same email we send, or is this something else? And you begin to wonder. So the thing is, a lot of people come from broken backgrounds as well in terms of work experience, right? So our bosses had different experiences, similar to different from what we have now. So you see that people have carried on those experiences and they bring it into today and act like, if I send you a message at 2 a.m., you must be awake to respond. And that's weird and strange. People don't have respect for boundaries. Hard work is equated to slavery, or slavery is equated to hard work. It's just a lot going on. So I don't know who to pity for, to be honest. I feel like everybody should be called out. Employers today, employees tomorrow. We should all be.
But goodness, before I come to Norma and Alero, when COVID started, and there was the policy that forced a lot of companies to allow their staff work from home because of the restrictions and all of that, it seemed that this thing you're talking about, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., it seemed like the staff didn't have their time to themselves anymore, because you didn't have an excuse not to respond to emails. You didn't have any, there was no specified time to say, this is the time I am working. So all of a sudden, do you understand? Because already, are we not used to these things already? Why is it becoming a problem for people? Because with COVID, I hear a lot of my friends that work in like proper 9 to 5, always say that I don't have my time anymore. Every day is work day. I don't even know when it's morning. I don't know when it's evening. This is the regular complaint you hear.
Yes, so I think the problem here is not about the what. And I said it to somebody today, because since yesterday to today, I've been answering questions and questions. It's not about the what, right? It's not about the fact that you sent an email at 2 a.m. It's the fact that you are entitled to a response. If you get the response, be appreciative of it, but don't be entitled to it. I should be sleeping, right? So the fact that I respond to it, you should appreciate that. Don't think of it as something that you're entitled to as an employer. And a lot of us worked out of our hours during COVID because, again, even employees, I would say that some employees are empathetic, right? So they know that I'm not going to work, so it's fine, right? I'm not spending that time in traffic, so I can give extra time to work. Yeah. Now, people have gone back. A lot of people have gone back to physical work. A lot of people have gone back to their regular 9 to 5. A lot of people are no longer working remotely. So you can't. And then there's traffic now. There's forecast. Like, so many things are happening, and you can't keep placing the burden of those kinds of things on people, right? What I would say is for people to understand that, draw the line, right? Draw the line. When people are supposed to respond to things, and we're sticking on this instance because there's so many others, right? So from the verbal abuses, let's not forget about the time on responding to emails. How about the verbal abuses? How about
the threats?
The calling of names, the threats? Like, what do we justify that with? Do you understand? Before COVID, they told us that we couldn't work from home because Nigerians are this and that and that. And then COVID happened. All of a sudden, we can work from home. Really? Okay. And then now there's fuel scarcity. I hear some banks are saying shut down at 5 o'clock. But before this time, we couldn't go home until our bosses went home. But all of a sudden, we can go home at 5 o'clock. Really? Just to save you diesel. So you see the elements of selfishness and not thinking about people in these policies. You don't feel like it's about you as an employee. You feel like it's about the company. So when you go to places where you're treated differently, you know the difference. But for now, a lot of people don't even know the lines between toxic and what's normal anymore.
In fact, the toxicity is now the normal. Because, I was going to say something about COVID. So imagine during COVID that, we were all forced to work from home because you have to work eventually. And then you're spending more hours because, by 8 a.m., you're already expected to be, because you're not in traffic, so you're expected to be sending emails or responding to emails, and the 5 p.m. is not 5 p.m. because you have it spills over. So there's one thing for you to actually love the job you're doing, because there's nothing compared to that. And then there's another thing when you now have to bear, and that you manage an overbearing boss, or manage, doing extra hours. Because I've worked with somebody that sends an email or sends a message around 2 a.m. but she will tell you the next day that I'm not expecting you to respond though. That's the time that I am mostly... she's mentally alert. That's the time that I love to work at 90. It helps me collect my, but there's some people that, I know a couple of people that anxiety has overwhelmed their life. Forget about personal struggles. So you're at home, you're dealing with your personal struggles, then you now come to work where you spend most of your hours, and then you don't have peace of mind. Your boss is probably calling you, you're anxious, or your hands are shaking, you're sweating. It's a lot of... The reason why it's emotional for a lot of people, even though there's either people that have experienced it directly or people that have heard about, these stories, it's really, really painful. And it's so painful that, when I listened to that podcast, I was so emotional because it dips. It's like, somebody said that it's like Nigeria, we have embraced poverty. Because when somebody treats you badly, the first thing you think about is, oh my God, I can't leave because I don't have another option. And truthfully, yes, they don't have another option. Yes. But it would, a lot of people have probably committed suicide that we haven't even heard the story. I know somebody that this guy almost killed himself because he couldn't bear it anymore. Like one guy mentioned during the podcast, he said that he didn't even trust his work. His outputs at some point felt like he was an olodo. He didn't know anything. Only for him to now change jobs, and the little thing that he expected somebody to just, commend, at some point he wasn't expecting that anymore. But now in his new place of work, they're commending every little thing he does. And it's strange to him because it's like, I'm coming from somewhere that everything I do seems like nothing. It's really crazy, it's ridiculous. Imagine somebody earning 250 naira a day. And then you're saying, and then the company was actually saying that yes, they're paying them, they're giving them food. So you're working, you have about 200 and something people working, and you're paying them per day 200. Like, how much is transportation to the workplace? By the end of the day, what happens? First, there's first scarcity, the cost of food has gone up, and you're underpaying these human beings. How do you expect them to survive?
With insults and
with
threats
insult, with honor,
and a lot of hypertension.
I'm happy that this conversation is really happening, and I mean, based on the conversation that's really happening right now, and everybody's really urging that there's an organization that is supposed to be handling things like this, the National Industry Court of Nigeria, that they are the ones that they're supposed to handle. I mean, if there's a body that handles this, they should do it, because now that over 200, I think she said 100 and something people, but I mean, as at this evening, over 200,000 people listened to that podcast, and the comments are like so much almost. So you guys are experiencing this thing and you've been quiet since.
Well, you see, somebody let me go ahead. Goodness, you said.
I said there's a lot of hidden trauma that people are not talking about.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Hidden.
Let me hear Norma's thought. Then there's a question I have in my head. I would like to ask. Go ahead. What's your thoughts?
Norma is just looking like.
It's a very unfortunate situation that is going on, and when you said that over 250,000 people had listened to that podcast, it just brought to mind how many more people who are experiencing these things, and you would say, okay, they're not talking about it, because really, who do they talk to? You said that there was a body that is in charge of taking care of them, but who really is responding to situations like this? It was during the COVID time that we even saw a heightened level of depression and a lot of people, because it just like opened the can of worms. A lot of people were trying to manage it until COVID hit and made things even more complicated. And then now we're coming out of the COVID season, the new normal, right back into business as usual. So it doesn't even leave space for people to process what they are really going through. What did we really learn from the COVID experience? And what have we taken back to work? Everybody just went back to, as it was work as usual. People who were dealing with trauma did not even have that avenue, where offices created to handle people's mental issues before they went back to work, or how they dealt through the COVID period and all of that. So then you now want to go back to work, business as usual, and the situation has not been taken care of. The situation has not been dealt with. And these bosses, if I may say, because I know that they are not the ones that we're looking at now, we're looking at the people who have gone through the onslaught from their bosses. But these bosses as well are people who are also dealing.
So it's just like the abuser is now being abused.
It's aggression that is being transferred one way or the other. They didn't come out or start off to being the mean bosses that they are. Something brought them there. Something made them who they are today. And they're only projecting their experiences, whatever it is. I'm not saying they are even being bossed, but if you really look into it, it's about hurting other people. And when people are not aware, when people are not aware that they have a problem and how that problem impacts on other people, then they don't seem to know that anything is wrong. So this vicious circle continues to go round and round and round and round. Tomorrow, somebody who is a subordinate might become a leader. But because of all of the things, the onslaughts that they have had, they just transfer it. It reminds me of when we were in school, when we were junior students, and then we had the seniors doing all, telling to kneel down, punishment and all of that. And you looked forward to when you become a senior too, when it will be your turn to inflict pain on others. But at the end of the day, some of us, when we grew up, we realized that, look, this is not who I am. So it takes even greater strength to continue to remind yourself to be able to handle situations when you are confronted with toxic environment, work environment, or bosses who are dealing for some reason and have turned you to the object of their situations and all of that.
You know what? Let's, because I'd like to ask a question, because I mean, I listened in, I don't know who tweeted, and the person was talking about labor laws. The person was talking about what are the, because you mentioned an organization, right? What's the name of the organization?
The National Industry Court of Nigeria.
So they are supposed to be, right? Even though the boss has decided that he wants to be a mad person. Do you understand? Where are the checks? Where are the balances, right? I remember a friend of ours that, certain companies employ her to go into their companies to make sure that the mental health of their staff, their well-being, so that productivity can be.
A lot of companies
are doing
now,
that.
yes.
So who is supposed to make sure that those things are in place, right? That it becomes a standard operation, procedure. That it doesn't have to be, whether you choose it or you don't, if it is not there, we shut down your company. But let me take a break, because I would really love to hear your thoughts when we open our phone line. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we are having an amazing chat. We're discussing horrible bosses, right? What's it called? The toxic work environment. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. Our phone line is now open. Please, when you call, turn off the volume of your television set so we can hear each other. The number to call is 07025007749. And I'd really love to hear from people that are experiencing horrible bosses, how you've had to handle or deal with the situation. Did you leave the company, or are you still there in the company? I really love to hear people that are really going through that pain. So, goodness, before we went on a break, I was asking this question around, the laws, right? They're supposed to be labor laws. Why do we have the NLC and all of that? Why are we not having something that checkmates every toxic environment? Because it's not just, it's because they were focused on startups, but it's not just startups. There are companies. I remember there was a particular company, a guy talked about how he lost his arm. It was an industry run by foreigners. I won't mention the species of foreigners, but he was run by foreigners. And he lost his arm in the process. No compensation, nothing. What? And they fired him from the job because he needed two hands to be able to do the work. So if we do not have those laws, if we do not have those laws that protect the workers, this toxicity, or whatever it is you call it, it will continue to linger, right? And that's where that vicious circle would continue. Oh, because I suffered, you must also suffer. But let me hear your thoughts, Goodness. Is goodness?
I think it's common knowledge that even with the normal situations around maybe stealing and reporting to the police, there is no trust in the system that anything will be done, to be honest. So even with employee issues like this, even within organizations and companies where you have HR, which is where we're working, and you expect people to come to HR and report some of these issues, they still don't, because a lot of them still don't even trust that whatever conversation they're having with HR is safe. And everybody believes that HR is working for the company. And I feel like that's why a couple of people don't even know about these companies or organizations, let alone go and report to them. But I know a couple of people who have sued companies and gotten compensation using private lawyers. So I think that's something that people can definitely explore. I know that there are private lawyers who their job is to fight for, regardless of what kind of case it is. If it's organizational compensation, they're happy to take on your case and fight for you. And I'll be tweeting some of those people. I have one of our senior colleagues who said he'll reach out to me with some numbers that people can call if they want to have some of these issues reported. So, but the honest truth is the lack of what's it called now? It's the lack of consequence, right? So it's the no consequence culture that makes it very difficult, because you just feel like, okay, yeah, we'll talk about it, we'll rant on Twitter, what will happen? The corporate still goes free, right? And so in corporate America, Wall Street, people can be toxic, but they are curtailed by lawsuits they know that if you do any rubbish,
Anything.
lawsuit will first hit you the next week. So you respect yourself, So, but because we don't have that around here, people just act as they like, and it's so unfortunate.
So I want to stay on you a bit. Goodness, what's a toxic environment? If you were to define based on your, you are someone that recruits people for companies, right? That's your job. So do you go that extra mile to understand the work culture? Because one of them sent a message and said that he didn't fit into the work culture. And he was wondering, I have worked for you for over a year. How can you now come out to say, it took you 1 year to understand that I did not fit into the work culture, right?
So companies even have, just some companies don't even have work culture.
So since Goodness is, you're the expert here, tell me what you think, about what a toxic environment really looks like. And do you actually go that extra mile to look at the work culture to when you're recruiting for companies?
Again, thanks. And I think it's a very valid question. So first of all, a toxic culture or a toxic relationship is just anything that is one-sided, to be honest. That's the most, easiest form or way to define it. So anything that benefits just one side of the conversation, anything that doesn't put the other party in consideration. So if you're an employee and you're not thinking of your employer, you're a toxic person. You're an employer, you're not thinking of your employees, you're a toxic employer, right? So if everything is about you, that's toxic from the word go. And for me, I think when I hire people, so my hiring starts with consultation to understand what kind of person you're looking for, what kind of experience, what kinds of skills. Do you have set values? Do you have any defined culture? And what I've realized is, with a lot of startups, those cultures exist in the minds of the founder, right? So it's in his head. So you're bringing in somebody who doesn't probably understand what you want to build, but it's in your head, the kind of company you want to build, but it's in your head, and it's not properly communicated. So when I'm asking you, so what kind of person do you want? And you tell me, someone who has this and this and this kind of experience. Sometimes I clearly tell them, you can't attract these kinds of people with the kind of culture that you have, or with the kind of workplace that you have, because these people, imagine that you're trying to bring somebody from a Microsoft, for instance, to come and work at a, what's this everyone's company now? The HR and payroll company. It's not going to work, right? Because the cultures won't match. Someone at Microsoft or at Google or at Facebook is used to a certain kind of work environment that they clearly do have. And so it's, so I usually do ask, but what you see sometimes is it doesn't exist, right? It's either it doesn't exist or it's not written down anywhere. And so that gives them room to be manipulative. And because it's not written, they're able to manipulate the situation and say, before you came, we did this, we did that, but it wasn't written anywhere, right? So that's a bit of an issue. But I also think that, like you said, a lot of people don't have a choice. Regardless, if you tell them, and I usually would not hire for a company that I don't know very well. So I try to know what client is, and I do my research as well. So imagine that when the girl who went for a job was kidnapped and killed, that even just heightened my awareness. So if you come to me that you want to hire, I'm trying to look at your company. Does it even exist? Do you guys even have an office? What do you do? Who are you as the founder? So I do some basic research before hiring and telling. But what I also tell employees, very importantly, is an employment is a two-way relationship. You have to think about yourself before you take a job. Even if I'm the one recommending you for it, you have 3 months. You have 3 months probationary period to check out the company as much as they're checking you out. So look for culture, look for behavior, look for things you don't like. If it doesn't work for you, it's a good time to move. It's sad that most people already leave their companies, and I'm trying to think about what's the most innovative way to do this, because it doesn't make sense to leave your company and after 3 months you're out of job, right? So is there a way that we can employ people while they're still currently working in the organizations to ensure that we're not pulling people out of jobs? You know what I mean? But what I tell people is you have a choice to always walk away. It's difficult, but you always have to make those difficult choices.
But I think Goodness is actually dependent, because I know a friend of mine that left the company and the boss told her anytime that you're ready to come back, please, the door is open. So I think it also depends on Yeah, it depends on how you live where you're living, because honestly, like Alera had said about poverty, a lot of people actually
don't have a choice.
Yes, they don't have a choice. Once they're looking at it. If I lose this, I'm done. So it's kind of a double whammy.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
I have a question for goodness. So this scenario that I'm about to paint now is something that happens a lot. I get a job, and during my interview, it's 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And then I resume, and after 1 month, you're asking me to work Saturdays and Sundays. And if I object, it becomes a big problem. What do you do regarding that kind of situation? Because it happens a lot.
But wait, let me add a caveat to that question.
Mm-hmm.
So goodness, because this conversation started as a result of startups, right? You know that as startups, there is a lot of work to be done. Even when you are starting a business, a company, you know that you are working round the clock.
Right.
Entrepreneurs don't sleep because they are trying to build something. Maybe if it grows to a certain level, then they can now say, okay, yes, we can now rest.
Yeah.
So is it possible that, again, some of these companies, they would need you to, but I think it would just only make sense if you tell the person.
Tell me why you're hiring me. Don't tell me when I've said
have a
yes.
conversation. Communicate.
I have accepted your offer.
Don't
I have
be
said
manipulative
yes
about the
because
situation.
the contract doesn't even have it. So it means that my contract is saying that I'm going to be working 9 to 5, or rather 8 o'clock
in
to
reality,
5 p.m. And then I'm working Monday to Friday. But you know that you're going to make me work extra. So you wait for me to accept your offer first. And then after 1 month, you now tell me, you first of all start with a trick and say, oh, you have to work on Saturday because we have XYZ going on. And then it becomes a pattern that I'm working for like 7 days a week. You're not reviewing my pay. You're still going to give me attitude on top of the work I'm doing for you.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah. So I think it's two things, right? I think it's two things. One is being honest and open. I remember when I wanted to hire somebody, and I told her I'm just starting to build this company. I told her what it was about, what I was thinking about it. And she honestly said, I can't leave where I am currently to work full time with you, but I'm happy to volunteer on your project and help you out whenever you can. Be honest with people. I feel like some people are so deceptive.
Yes.
They know what you're currently going to be doing, and they just want to get you in.
Yes.
But let's even say that you're already in the situation. It's the how, right? I said it from the word go. It's the how. There's a way that someone will tell you go to hell. You buy your own bus ticket.
Yes.
It's right. So it's the fact that people are entitled, which I said in the first place. You know this is not in my job description, but you still want to be mean about it. You want to claim that, if you're hardworking, you go the extra mile, blah, blah, blah. If you create an environment, and if I really love what I do, sometimes you don't have to tell me to go the extra mile. I'll come on Saturday, I'm happy to come in on Sunday, and if I can't come in, I'll let you know. And you should be gracious about it if I'm not able to meet up with extra activities, right? So my thing is, it's just, for me, it's the entitlement, it's the lack of leadership qualities and understanding of people management, right? That is the issue here with a lot of leaders. So if you get into that kind of decision, what I tell people is, once you see that this is becoming a thing, start looking for something else.
Yes.
That's what it is. You already know. So give yourself a time frame. If this continues for 1, 2, 3 months, I'm going to leave. So start looking for something else. If you think it's something you can deal with, start dealing with it. But what I've seen over time is once they take a mile and you do nothing, they'll take 2 miles. Yeah. So work on Saturday, you don't do anything, you work on Sunday. So it's going to keep going.
Hey.
I would add to what Goodness was saying. A lot of these bosses also lack emotional intelligence. A lot of them do not even understand the people that they're working with. So you are, okay, if I say a personality type, for example, you're choleric, so you're driven, you're always on the move, and you don't understand that this person that you're dealing with, it's not like you. You don't take out the time to understand the person that you're working with, understand their strengths and their weaknesses and where you can place them so that they can thrive. And then you expect the person to deliver on a job that they are not capable of. And then you write down the person, you talk down on the person. First of all, you don't even, apart from the fact that you don't have emotional intelligence, a lot of them don't even have respect or just share empathy.
Human respect.
Human connection.
Nobody wants to do the hard work.
No, nobody. So at the end of the day, you see people being swamped with things and they don't even know how to, so it's like being in a muddy pit. that you don't even know how to come out of. And because, like we said, like Alera said, there's the poverty aspect of it. You don't know, you don't have anything to fall back on. And a lot of people don't even have that willpower to, just say, you know what, this is not the environment for me and I'm walking away. They don't have that willpower. So you see a lot of people stuck. And that's where depression, you see a lot of people even committing suicide or even thinking suicidal thoughts just because they don't know how to manage these people.
I wanted to ask though, do you think a good relationship with your boss would help a toxic boss? Do you think so? Because again, sometimes I have seen people that are not efficient. They don't even know nothing. They don't know jack. But work is going on, because they have like a good relationship with their bosses, right? So do you think the personality of the boss has a role to play? And again, if you have a good relationship with the boss, everything is fine?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we said from the beginning. A lot of people will thrive in toxic workplaces, and one of the attributes of a toxic workplace is where personal relationships, drive benefits, as it were. You understand? So because I'm okay with you, because I like you, things are going well. So on the good part of it, if you have a good relationship with your boss, it makes it easy to do stuff for him beyond what's required. So if I like my boss, she's a nice person, she's like I said, she has emotional intelligence, she's considerate, I'm happy to go over the line for you. But if I don't like you, I'm not entitled to give you that extra if I don't want to, right? And I think the second thing here is a lot of people don't understand that the vision that they have. My pastor will always say something. He said, the vision God gave you, he didn't give it to you and 20 other people, he gave it to you. So don't expect anybody else to drive it like you will. Which is the issue, right? So you employ people and you think they're going to carry your vision on their head, and you forget that these are human beings. They probably have things that they also want to do for themselves. See, there's a lot of delusion going on, I swear. You think some people actually think that we are born to work for them. That's just their mindset. Like, you don't have anything to do with your life.
But I've seen people like that, and they're thriving.
But people are suffering.
That's still the lack of emotional intelligence.
The
people that come, I know a friend who said, I'm not cut out for entrepreneurship. I'm here to help other people build their businesses. When you find those kinds of people, they're doing what they do with all the joy in the world, right? So I'm not part of the people that say you can't get rich working for other people. Says who? Pay me 10 million a month, I will work and be rich. So it's not.
But let me say, but goodness, I'm saying to you that I have seen people that do all those work that they are actually working for a slave driver. When I say a slave driver, and it's not like they're happy doing the work. But they're always rumbling, and yet they're not living. You understand?
That's why we talked about the whole poverty mentality. So on that podcast,
it's only poverty. They must be benefiting from the cookie jar.
So that
yes, now they're benefiting
so from that podcast.
But some people are not. Some people are not.
Yes,
I did a focus group session. I did a focus group session for a company while I was so my first job was a Great Place to Work. And one of the things that we did was assess the best places to work in the world and rank them. And one of the activities we did in that process was focus group session. So talk to employees from different companies.
Yeah.
You see employees in some good companies in quotes, and they tell you that they've been here so long that they don't even know their worth in the employment market. They're so scared to apply for a job. They don't even know if they'll, it's just so much despondency. People don't even know how to apply for a job, or they are depressed. One girl says that she's been here, she's 35, she's single because of her job. I'm like, you're complaining, why don't you go and apply for a job? She says, I don't even know if anybody will employ me. I only have one skill. I've been here for so long. Like, it's so many things. They want to leave, but they can't leave. And I'll say this last story, and then I'll let you go on. I met a friend who used to work, and I'm going to call the company Access Bank, right? Because they were called out yesterday. And this guy constantly used to have nose bleeding after work almost every week. I'm like, you're such a smart person. You're such a skilled person. Why aren't you applying to them? For some reason, I don't know if it doesn't occur to them. After that week, he called me and said, please let me work on my CV. And literally, he's been at Access Bank for 5 years. I met him, and within 3 months, he got a job in NHS. But he's been there the whole 5 years, complaining, sweating, depressed, this. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. Sometimes I feel it does. Because why are you stuck in a place that you can actually walk away from if you have that opportunity, right? So the people who are stuck, I get it, but the people who can actually leave, just I don't know.
So,
Well,
go
there's
ahead.
if I may come in
Quickly.
quickly, there's some people who are stuck because verbal abuse is not, it's something that works on you over time.
Yeah.
Over time. So you continue to hear something for a period, this and that, it seeps in and it begins to take root. And at the end of the day, you become what you listen to as many times over. So you see a lot of people are stuck, not because they have even come to believe what they've heard. And these are stories that I've heard several times over. And you're asking the person, why would you not leave this space? And the same answers come to you. Where would I go? Because they have come to believe what they've been told, that look, you're not going to function anywhere else than this space. We are even giving you an opportunity.
We're doing
you a favor. You're not going to find any place. There's something that I read, and it said emotions arise from toxic work environment and they seep into every aspect of your life. Get out, no job is worth that kind of misery. Nobody is called to be in a state of misery constantly.
All the life. Okay, let me give Goodness the last word because we ran out of time. Tell me, how would you help somebody that is out there probably watching? You know, the person is afraid to even call to say this is what I'm going through right now. How would you help the person? Do you like get people to leave their workplace? You know, do you get them through that process?
So I think one of the things I told someone yesterday, I said, if you work at Bento, it wasn't me, it was a guy who tweeted, he said, if you work at Bento, send me, I'll find you another job. You know, you really find good people who are out there, and send a message, to be honest, connect with recruiters, you can connect with me. Again, let's look at what you're interested in doing, and then I'm happy to, if we have opportunities, connect you with it. And like you said, some people can up and leave. Some people need a process. Some people need time, you know, to come out of those toxic workplaces. Some people even just need that therapy to even talk themselves and understand that they're not what they've heard. Just like she said, you're not worthless. Some said that they've called her worthless so much she doesn't even believe in the worth of her work. So some people even need that validation again. And then they can start to look for something. Because the thing is, I'll tell you the crippling thing about toxic workplaces, you start to attract it. Because you've been there so much, right? Yeah. You start to attract places like that. So because you don't even know what is good and what is bad.
What's a healthy environment anymore?
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what a healthy environment is. So these are the monsters we've created. And like she said, before you know it, you can even turn into a toxic person without knowing it. So I think what we can do is just, you know, if you reach out to me or any other recruiters, I'm happy to help in any ways that I can. Absolutely.
Wow. Somebody waited a dime minute to call. Kate, are you there? Can we take that call? The time is gone. Okay, we lost the call. So let's take comments quickly.
Yeah, I mean, this comment is basically speaking towards what I was actually going to talk about as we close. So this is from Benson. Good evening, ladies. A huge prerequisite of being a boss is leadership. This is board and cover skill, emotional and other psychological capabilities. Most bosses devoid of their leadership eventually breeds the toxic environment. How much leadership awareness do most bosses possess? This basically is addressing what I was actually going to say, because I mean, I know that a couple of organizations already have employee assistant programs.
What about leadership assistant programs?
They actually also do, because I mean, I'm aware of a couple of industries that ensure that all the leaders they go through like some type of trainings, and then there's like an anonymous email that goes around asking employees to actually rate
their bosses.
Yes, you know, I mean, and then I would actually employ a lot of organizations to start doing it more. Don't wait for them to drag you before you actually, you know, ensure that your employees are doing well.
Absolutely. Norma, quickly, your comment and let's go ahead.
Okay. Now, I wanted to say quickly, if you start a business, right, and you know for sure that you're not a good person, you don't have to be the one in charge of people. You can be a product guy, you can be the idea person, but don't go. Some founders don't have businesses running kiosks, running people's lives.
Absolutely.
So outsource your weaknesses. So you're not a good person, you're patient, and you're still going through that process.
Absolutely.
Get an HR person, someone who has a people skill, and let them manage that.
Absolutely.
Right? And also, organizations should think about how they assigning people managers, because it's not about how long you've stayed in the company. Because what I've seen is a lot of Nigerian companies, because you stay 5 years, now become a manager. That's wrong.
Oh wow.
So let's reevaluate how we assign leadership and management.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Goodness, we ran out of time. Quickly.
Okay, so quickly. Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying? Let me seize this opportunity to thank the President and Commander-in-Chief.
Go ahead, buddy.
That's Buhari. Now, people can travel well in Lagos. Okay, this has to do.
Oh, I think we've run out of time. Thank you so much, Goodness. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Alewa.
Thank you, guys.
We had a fantastic conversation. Now, before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagrams at StartupHR. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements and interactions online. Right? If you missed today's quote, here it is again. A very interesting quote. With power comes abuse of power, and where there are bosses, there are crazy bosses. Is nothing new. So you have to just find a way to deal with them, or you walk away. We'll see you guys live tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.